It is never okay to marry a masturbator. I have an extensive list of questions here.
Extensive?
Do you want me to just spring these on you?
Go ahead, spring them like a submarine, right out of the water.
Somebody wants to know your post-Virginia analysis now that it's already happened.
My post-Virginia analysis. Well, most of what I said before, I still believe is true. Post-Virginia analysis. Okay, one of the things that I did forget that everybody should remember is an armed society is a very polite society. So if everybody has a gun, an asshole does not survive very long. So everybody there was polite. They picked up their trash. They were taking selfies with everybody. But here's the point of what I was saying before. Unless you, the 2A society in Virginia, are willing to go all the way with your constitutional right, then you're doing nothing. By showing up there, they passed every single one of the laws they wanted to pass. Right now, they're getting ready to pass a law that says you cannot criticize the state government in Virginia. These are all elements of tyranny. I don't know if he is really that stupid, or if this is really the big play to get people in Virginia to try and overthrow the state government so they can ban all firearms. That'll be the quickest way for this country to go into martial law, is if some militia decides to storm the state house because the governor keeps pushing their buttons. Outside of that, if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to exercise that Second Amendment, then showing up at the state capitol with your Barrett 50 cal is doing no good. None whatsoever. I will actually be surprised if that individual, very famous individual, got his picture taken with a bunch of people. I will be surprised if his life has not been turned upside down because of him showing up there with that 50 cal. Think about this. There were some sheriffs, there was a bunch of law enforcement agencies that were walking around in those crowds and giving the two-way speech. And individuals with their guns were taking pictures with those sheriffs. Don't think for 1 minute that they are not doing background checks on every single person that they took a picture with, because that's an easy arrest. If you are a person that is not supposed to have a firearm, or maybe something happened in your life that's a little shady on one way or the other, guaranteed those people are getting they're getting knocks on their door, and they're trying to figure out who the fuck you are and how can we take your guns away from you. So, I still say it's a trap, and it's a trap because you have to, in order for this to stop, in order for you to maintain your rights in Virginia, you're going to have to exercise your Second Amendment right. You're going to have to do it. You're going to have to show up with pitchforks and fucking your AR-15s, and you're going to have to overthrow that government. That's the only way they're going to stop. That's the only way they're going to stop with those laws. It's about consequences. You have to understand that everything in this world is about consequences. We had a period from 1945 until mid-60s. We had this honeymoon period in the United States where nobody fucked with us. If you take a look at history and the news time frame, all during that time frame, the British were getting fucking, terrorists were attacking them all the time. Crazy shit was going on in Europe and all those countries. It wasn't happening here in the United States. The reason why was because we, the United States, dropped 2 atomic bombs, not 1, 2, and guaranteed that second one was to tell the world, fuck off. Every world leader was afraid of the United States and the atomic bomb. Even Stalin. Everything that Stalin did was because they were afraid that we were crazy enough to do it again. And that's why nobody fucked with us that entire time. Because everybody was afraid of those consequences. Bin Laden, the only thing Bin Laden did was he showed the terrorist world that we wouldn't do enough that the consequences weren't there anymore, that we were just a paper target. That's why he was able to attack a ship, blow up an embassy, take down the World Trade Center, attack it twice, because we were a paper tiger at that time. Things have to have consequences. The reason why the Second Amendment is in the Constitution is to create a consequence for tyranny, for that leadership. That's why that's in there. If you look back to the 1993 first assault weapons ban, the first time they did an assault weapons ban in the United States, everybody stood up and they voted all those fucking Democrats out of office. That next session, the Democrats were decimated. Because of that, the Democrats from 1993 until present day were afraid to put forth any gun legislation because they got their asses handed to them. Even to this day, I guarantee you, when people start bringing that shit up to Nancy, she's like, it's probably not going to go the way you think. Because people stood up and they gave them consequences. Getting your, Kevlar helmet on and your fucking body armor and going down to Virginia and hanging out with your friends in the park and eating hot dogs. Not a single consequence. They could give a shit less. As a matter of fact, because you guys did what you did, they didn't even have to pay to get the trash picked up because you picked up your own trash. So it was almost like, it was like you weren't even there because they still voted on those bills. They still passed those bills. They don't give two shits about how many fucking people show up in Virginia that aren't going to do anything. If you're not willing to burn the house down, then they don't care. They're going to pass those laws. And that's what this is all about. It is a fucking trap. It's to see how far you will go. Could we just hang out until Northam and that whole crew has to get reelected? Probably. But they are changing the rules of election right now in those counties. They're changing the rules of election right now in those counties. So by the time you're ready to do your part and vote those mooks out, the rules are going to be changed. They're going to be different. You're probably not even going to be in the right county. It won't even matter. So as far as what's going on in Virginia, nothing's going on in Virginia. You guys didn't do anything. You didn't do a damn thing. They're still gonna fucking push all that gun control. You got a red flag going through this week. They're still gonna push all that shit through.
They're trying to put one in Nashville.
Yeah. Interesting thing about Nashville, I was just at a meeting about that, and the representative who was there is like, the individual who's pushing it is out of Memphis. Female. And he says that it's going to go nowhere, that it's going to get crushed. Who knows? That's all it's about, though. I mean, you have to wonder if they did not pick Virginia specifically. If they did not pick Virginia specifically, there's a lot of guns in Virginia. There's a lot of patriotism in Virginia. If they can crush Virginia, how quickly will the other states capitulate and be crushed as well? So
didn't they pass those laws the week before?
Well, they passed them. The week before the rally was actually going to even happen. But then there's 3 laws that they've passed since then. So,
and then I thought that had already gone through about you're not allowed to speak ill of the local government there.
I think that's this week.
I think that's already happened.
I think that's so. If you live in Virginia, you are already facing tyranny. So the question is, what are you going to do about it?
Well, who counted the ballots where he got elected?
Oh, electronic machine.
So there is no oversight at
this
point.
There's no oversight, and you're going to see that anybody that believes in a fair election is going to tell you that we need to go back to paper ballots. Anybody who is not concerned about a fair election is going to say we need to keep using these machines. An 11-year-old hacked the machines in North Carolina, I think. So if an 11-year-old can do it, I'm pretty sure that the whole point is so that we can pretend like somebody else wins the election when they really didn't.
You think this was just a test?
Virginia is definitely a test. I guarantee you Bloomberg, because here's the thing, all the money that those all the money that those representatives got, that those Democratic representatives that got elected in Virginia, it all came from Bloomberg PACs. So Bloomberg paid I have heard as much as a fucking $1 billion to get all those people in office.
What's he after?
He's after that. He's after gun control.
Why?
Because you cannot maintain control without it.
So he is the puppet master.
He is right now. He is the puppet master, which is funny because he is currently running for president, but he can't. The problem that Bloomberg doesn't understand is, first off, he's a billionaire. Second, he's a former mayor of New York. Now, while that brings you accolades in New York and Washington D.C., maybe even in Los Angeles, most people hate him because he was the mayor of New York. So he's going out on these things, and he can't. He's got less people in his venues than we have in here right now.
How do we have 4 people running for president who voted to impeach the current president? Is that a conflict of interest?
It is 100% a conflict of interest, but because this is all bullshit anyways, nobody really cares. Yeah, he's not getting impeached. Here's the thing. This is the thing. We're in a situation kind of, I don't want to say similar to Bill Clinton, but Bill Clinton did things in the Oval Office that, in today's world would have got him hung, right? Maybe not. The Democrats probably would have protected him again. But it was the same scenario where Republicans wanted Bill Clinton impeached, Democrats did not. Same exact scenario. We ran the House, they had the Senate. He was actually caught doing all the things that he said he wasn't doing. They did not impeach him because he was a Democratic president. The Senate was in control of the Senate was Democrats were in control of the Senate at that time. They're not going to impeach their Democratic president, just like these Republicans are not going to impeach their Republican president. Could Donald Trump do something really bad? Hell of a lot worse than he's doing right now. This bullshit that they have him up on it's smoke and mirrors. They don't have anything. They don't have anything. It's the reason why Nancy Pelosi did not want to take this in front of the Senate, because they don't have shit. And it's probably, let's hope, it's probably going to hurt the Democrats come voting time. I don't know, because my thing is, we're on that slippery slope where people think that that somehow the socialist agenda is the way to go, when they don't understand that, AOC, when she's telling you to fucking ride the bus and fucking turn your lights off, and she's in a fucking $1 million condo, she's driving around in a fucking armored Suburban. They don't.
Trucks.
Here's the thing: the people that are spouting the most about this shit, they don't believe it. They don't believe what they're saying.
Well, they believe it for you.
Yeah, they believe it for you, but not
do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah, guaranteed. Bloomberg has got I don't want to say more guns than me around him, because I've been doing this a lot longer than you, Mike, but maybe pretty close. Amount of guns around him. So they don't. It's do as I say, not as I do. That is the motto of the Democratic Party. Period. It's why I want you to think about this. It is why you have a governor of a Democratic state. I mean, elected apparently in Virginia, that got away with wearing blackface and a Ku Klux Klan outfit. He got away with that. We have pictures of him like that.
How come there's no?
If that would have been, I mean,
how come there's no photos of Republicans in blackface?
You know what? I'm not gonna.
Are there?
I am sure. I am sure when you're talking about, if you're talking about nitpicking the '80s, I am sure that there's probably a photo of Trump somewhere in a Mr. T costume. If you're talking about nitpicking the '80s, I think the defining thing with
actually the only one I saw that was kind of surprising when they said he was in blackface, it was a dude dressed as Mr. T.
Yeah, it's kind of for me, the Northern thing's a little different. If they had a picture of Ralph Northam dressed up as Mr. T, or I don't know, if he was wearing an all leather outfit dressed up like Eddie Murphy, That's different than being in blackface next to a guy in a Ku Klux Klan outfit. That's totally different. You are making a statement when you do that. You're making a totally different statement. You're not saying, "Hey, look at here, we're here for fun." That's a totally different statement. So I am sure that there's Republicans out there that have that, but this is different. This Democrat, when you're talking about the Democrats, they are supposed to be the hope and change. Well, they're not hope and change if it's their individuals. And the only reason why, and here's the thing that most people don't understand, the only reason why he is still governor is because the assistant governor has pictures of himself in blackface. That's weird. Why are all these Democrats blackfacing themselves? The assistant governor has pictures of him in blackface. The next in line, who's a Democrat, beat the fuck out of his wife, and so he's skylined. You know who the next in line is after that? A Republican. That is exactly why they didn't fucking remove Northam from office, because they didn't want to give the state back to a Republican. That's all it is. So as far as the Democratic Party is concerned, they are willing to transgress any line in order to stay in power. Which, how could you be party to that? I mean, if you're a Democrat, you are party to that, you're the worst piece of shit.
What about the secret video that was going around? There's a cell phone video in chambers when they were rallying up to vote on these gun bans in Virginia. A dude has a cell phone going that looks to be somewhat hidden or hidden, and there's maybe 20 people in this chamber. All but 3 are females that are pushing this shit. And this dude says, I was called and told I needed to come in here for this last night at 9 o'clock after I put my children to bed. I wasn't given any warning on it. I wasn't told what this was about, and I didn't know what this was about until 5 minutes ago. I did not know this was about firearms. It was kept completely secret.
If you want to pass unjust,
and he said, I am not voting for this.
Yeah, if you want to pass unjust laws, you have to do it in secrecy. If they were afraid to do that in a regular session, in a regular session of the House or Senate, then that means it's unjust law, period. If they felt like they had to do it in secrecy, which they did, then it was an unjust law.
They have a whole court for that.
Yeah, they have a whole court for that. Here's my, and I said this to John when I saw the video, here's the problem. And I know I'm going to get hate mail from you, but you know what?
Most of our viewers are.
I don't care. I don't care if I do. Most of that room was filled with women that were making those votes.
On emotion.
Can women govern? Of course they can govern. But the problem with what they're doing is they are governing through emotions and not facts. If they were using facts, they would be going after a completely different set of things. But they're not. They're using emotions because they've watched too many TV repeat episodes of something that they think is the worst tragedy ever. So you cannot govern with emotions. If you do govern with emotions, we will be fucking destroyed very quickly. And it's not going to be good for anybody. I know people think, and it may even sound like I want fucking pitchforks and torches to burn down the Virginia stake. I don't want that to happen.
That's what it's going to take, though.
I don't want that to happen. But because in the real world, it's going to be terrible for everybody. It's not going to be, and I keep saying this, it's not going to be like the last Civil War where you got 2 armies that meet outside the Potomac and they shoot it out and whoever wins wins.
Well, there's people on the sidelines that have
picnics. It's not going to be like that.
That happened. That was real.
It's going to be real neighbor against neighbor. You know, the crazy thing about guns is Democrats preach like they don't have guns. Like they keep it's a secret that's under the bed that they pretend like is not there. But you don't have 400 million plus guns in this country and all the Democrats are unarmed. There are just as many Democrats out there with guns in their houses right now as there are Republicans. The difference is your Republican is probably going to be more aware how to operate and use that firearm. And Unfortunately for you Democrats, he's going to have more of them and more ammunition, guaranteed.
And probably some training.
So, I mean, it's not going to go the way people think. The reality is, if civil war breaks out, if you are a liberal or you're a Democrat, you are an endangered species.
What about the talk on the shooting range laws that were just passed in Virginia?
The shooting range law is even
Insane.
weirder. The shooting range law is even weirder because it's not shooting; it's combative techniques. So
Krav Maga was named. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was
Brazilian
named.
Jiu-Jitsu, anything that is a combative technique.
Any combat sports.
If it's not sanctioned by the state, you can't teach it.
Has to take place on a state-owned range or facility unless you have 50 or more employees and you cater and you have to have law enforcement or state employees on staff as your 50, if I remember it correctly. So, I mean, it literally, they have shut down they're shutting down every gun shop, any place you can shoot unless it is on a state facility. And I think I want to say I heard 90% of your roster has to be law enforcement. So you can go to a police facility and shoot in some capacity.
All that does is the reality is you're making rules to limit your ability to shoot. Because let's say the state goes, hey, guess what? You know what? We're going to close down all the civilian ranges. You can't shoot on civilian ranges anymore because it's a hazmat issue. But you can shoot on all law enforcement ranges. And you go, okay, well, that's cool. They got cool ranges. Well, there's only going to be 3 hours in the day where you're going to be able to do it because the law enforcement personnel are going to be using it. And then the entire time you're there, there's going to be a law enforcement guy, guaranteed the guy who hates civilians with guns, standing there watching you shoot your gun.
The way I see it is the way I see it is so they can just put you on another list, as well as set you up to when they stop you moving with firearms, where are you going, you're arrested.
Yeah, I just had a discussion with a guy about that today. So like California, you think assault weapons are bad in California, where they're like, hey, you have to register your assault weapons, blah, blah, blah.
Less than 1% did that.
If you don't register them, you're going to go, it's a felony. And just in Los Angeles County, on the first assault weapons ban, they had 40,000 known assault weapons that did not get registered. Meaning they knew that there was 40,000 assault rifles in the county that did not get registered. This goes back to when people talk about National Guard and the Sheriff's Department and all these people going to your house and fucking, if they ban AR-15s, they're going to fucking come to your house and take your shit. That's a national emergency. They are not going to do that. They're going to follow the model in California. And the model in California is all I have to do is ban the system. That's it. All I have to do is ban the system. I don't have to go to your house. I just have to ban the system because you're going to do something that is going to put you on the skyline, and then we're going to use that weapon system against you in a court of law. So, for example, all I have to do is say AR-15s are now illegal in California, or let's say Virginia. All they have to do is say they're illegal. Fuck you, you don't get to grandfather them, they're just illegal. Turn them in, or else you're a felon. They're not going to come to your house, because the reality is they haven't been keeping the proper records anyways. So if you've got an AR-15 that you've owned for more than 2 years, they don't fucking know you even have it. They know you bought a rifle, but they don't know that it's an AR-15. So they're not coming to your house. They don't need to. All they need you to do is have some sort of other violation. And once you have that other violation, they're going to be like, oh, look. So let's say you and your wife get in an argument. Boom. You get in an argument. Cops show up. They're like, oh, look at this. This could be domestic violence. Is that a fucking AR-15 over there in the corner? That's a felony. That's 10 years. But they don't care about that. The reality is, if you have an AR-15, what they care about is the magazines. That's what California does.
Didn't they
California,
jack some dude 5 years for every mag or something?
it's 10 years per mag. So what California does is they count up those mags. So who owns an AR-15 that doesn't have 10 mags?
I thought you were gonna go for 100.
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to play it out. But
10 mags,
let's say
motherfucker. You carry 10 mags on each side.
if you got 10 mags, that's 100 years, right? At this point, the DA doesn't even give a shit about the AR-15. Doesn't even care, because he's got you for 100 years on the magazines. So what they've been doing is they've been going, okay, boom, we're rolling you up. You got this you felonies. Takes about a year to get through the system. The whole time you're sweating fucking bullets because they've already told you you're going to jail for 100 years.
Give us 5 of your friends.
Yeah. So you're sitting there sweating bullets, and then the DA, because the DA is not going to fucking waste his time on a stupid rifle case, especially if it's just that. Obviously, if you fucking robbed a bank with an AR-15, then you have bigger problems. But if we're talking about you get rolled up at a fucking gun range or coming back from Vegas because you love shooting out there, they're not going to waste their time. What they're going to do is they're going to immediately hit you with a plea bargain. They're going to say, hey, check it out. You plead guilty to this soft felony, and we'll put you on probation for 6 months. And you're going to go, fuck yeah. They're going to keep the guns, they're going to keep the magazines, and you are now a felon, and you can't buy firearms in the state of California anymore, which is their goal anyways.
Or anywhere.
Yeah, which is their goal anyways. So they win. They don't even have to put you in jail. They win. That's what they're doing. The National Guard is not fucking mobilizing and coming to your house to get your guns, because that's a revolution. If they just pick you off one by one, let's talk about red flag laws. Red flag laws, all I have to do is go, hey, I had an altercation at the Quickie Mart with Codykins, and he's really off the hook, and I know he's got guns. That's it. And then they go to his house. Once that red flag order's been issued, Cody can't go,
Wasn't me.
hey man, I wasn't even at I wasn't even there. I was at home sleeping in my bed.
They're already having false calls, like being swatted.
The police are going to go, this is what the cops are going to say. They're going to say, hey man, that's cool. You're going to have your day in court. Give me all your guns. And now he's got to fucking go to court to get his guns back. So they're just going to, that's all they're going to do, is they're going to pick things off one by one. They're just going to pick people off one by one. You know, the way California looks at it, you probably got about, so the first assault weapons ban went through in 93. That's when I registered mine. 20 more, you cannot transfer those firearms. So if you live in California, you register your assault weapon, they are non-transferable. You have to give them up to the Department of Justice when you die. Your family has to, so they can be cut up.
They come looking for them, don't they?
As far as California is concerned, in 20 more years, maybe 30 more years, there are going to be no fucking assault rifles in California. It's a win-win. It's just about time.
There'll be some shit that looks just like them.
Oh, there'll be. There is so. Here's the sad thing is there are more guns in California than any other state in the union. This is a fact. There are more guns in California than any other state in the union. When the bullet button became legit, so the bullet button came legit during Obama's administration, California Department of Justice said, okay, it's legit. They were taking in 40,000 AR-15 lowers a month. A month. That was legal AR-15 lowers, 40,000 a month were going into the state of California. Let's not even talk about the 80%ers. There was one company down close to where we live, down close to San Diego. They're pretty infamous. In 1 month, they did 100,000 AR-15 lowers. Yeah, there are fucking guns. There are guns everywhere in the state of California. Everywhere.
What did that shop look like?
Oh, it was actually, you know, it was about like, it was like our old shop. Wasn't big, you know, had a small footprint.
But how many CNC machines were they running?
So they had
just contract
where you
shops?
bought you couldn't. So the way it worked was.
So they weren't making them; they were having machine shops make them.
Yeah, they would be like, "Hey, here's your 80%, and by the way, this guy at 8 o'clock is going to do all these, cut all these for you.
Had that guy not just kept his fucking mouth shut and not pushed that shit.
No, I mean it would have caught that shop would have caught up to 80% would have caught up because they're doing too much volume.
But I mean, wasn't he out kind of like poking the
Yeah,
ATF
he was
and
doing
shit?
everything. Yeah, he actually went to the ATF office with fucking 80%ers and like he was doing everything. I mean, they had a sign.
When you come here and you fucking stick your hand in the fucking cage with my tiger and you start smacking him, don't be surprised when he fucking bites your hand off.
He had a sign, the fucking hugest. I mean, it was a super billboard in Tierra Santa. So
Tierra Santa.
in Tierra Santa, that was like.
Did he live in Tierra Santa or
No,
something?
I don't know why they put the sign there, but it was like a picture of a fucking an M4, and it was like, why buy it legally when you can make it at home? I mean, the dude was trying to get arrested.
Weren't they saying he had it on like the drug corridors or something? He was trying
Yeah,
to market to
he
the
was hitting all
cartels.
anything down close to the border.
Do you want to talk on Terran Tactical for a minute?
I mean, okay. So the problem with Terran Tactical
I got the same problem.
is I don't have details,
Right?
like legit details.
And why is that? Because she has not said fucking anything.
Yeah, I don't have legit details. This is what I know. That there is a video, an older video
Private property.
of somebody on one of Terran's ranges, a young lady.
I believe it was in his living room.
Oh, I don't know. I actually thought it was on the range, but maybe it was in his living room. But
Or what looked to be like a inside an apartment. Or
he
something.
was trying to get in her pants, and first off, if you're any kind of human being, you say the damnedest things to get in a girl's pants.
But she didn't. Did you see the video? Because she.
I
didn't
have not
seem-
seen it.
Okay, I saw it, and she was like lifting her shirt up. He was not. She was. Let me see the precious or whatever, and she was lifting her shirt up. She did not look uncomfortable. There was nobody holding her. I mean, I don't know who else was in the room. I assume Terran or whatever his name was taking the video maybe. But I mean, we don't even know if there was a third person. We don't know what the deal was. Did he have a relationship with her? Who fucking knows? All we know is that video got leaked by a social media person which fired or quit or whatever who was disgruntled. The video was taken in 2017 and she was 18 at the time. She was already an adult when the video happened. That's the math. That's what we know.
Yeah. So
And that dude picked SHOT Show to put that out there.
my thing is it's the gun industry. Kind of the reason why I am not in the gun industry. The gun industry is a shit show. Everybody is out to fuck everybody else over, and it's a shit show. To say that somebody was just trying to give a Me Too moment, but they released it at SHOT Show, that's a total attack. And once again, I don't know anything about this situation other than how it's been spelled out. And until that young lady comes out and says, I felt like he was pressuring me, until she actually makes a statement, I don't give a shit what's in the video. I really don't. I don't care if there's a video of him wrestling with her on the ground. Taryn is surrounded by ladies. And if you have one person coming out and saying this, I mean, is it possible that he's some sort of super predator? Of course it's possible that he's some sort of super predator. But right now, there's no evidence to the fact of that. None whatsoever.
We know a lot of girls from that camp. We know a lot of chicks that have been there. I mean, fuck, we got a buddy that I think married one of them. We've never heard any of that shit. Like, we've never been around when them chicks are like I've brought up, like, I think that the way that dude shoots is cool. All that fucking ninja John Wick shit, right? I just think it's fucking neat. So I've spoken about him. I've never personally met him. But we've been around people that know him. And never would they be like, yeah, if Harvey Weinstein invites you to a party, don't go. Like, you hear that from all the other fucking shit, but I've never heard that of him.
And I can't imagine, I mean, I don't know. It's once again, it's always possible. And maybe this is just a pause moment for Terran Tactical, but I think it's horseshit. Until she comes out and says that there was some sort of shenanigans going on, then I don't give a shit what was on that video. I don't, because people do and say all kinds of crazy shit. Everybody does. I mean, Bill Clinton was getting he was stuffing cigarettes in Monica Lewinsky's pussy.
Did he smoke?
You know what? This is what I was told, that no, he didn't smoke them. They were presidential cigarettes on the desk. Other people smoked them. So,
so he put them in and then put them back?
And then put them back, yeah.
Good to go, Bill.
Other people smoked them. In that context, people might go, holy shit, Bill Clinton's a crazy motherfucker. But that's...
Come on.
Unfortunately...
We've all been to Vegas together.
Unfortunately, Monica Lewinsky was a grown-ass adult. She made grown-ass decisions. I don't care. I mean, once again... Unless she's going to say that
Hillary don't care.
Yeah, Hillary don't care. Unless she's going to come out and say somehow Bill forced her, which if you've seen Monica talk, I mean, Monica's actually pretty scored away, but if you've seen her talk about it, she did everything. She had a schoolgirl crush, and she did everything she could to stalk the president.
I thought she said that.
Yeah, she did.
Like,
I mean, it's in her. It's in her thing
from day one to fuck him.
So it's. I mean, I don't know where we're going with that, but like I said, I don't give a shit what Taryn did until she comes out and says, "Hey, this is the Taryn Tactical Me Too moment," because consenting adults do all kinds of crazy shit. And if you think everybody lives like fucking Leave It to Beaver, if you're sitting in your living room going, "That's crazy that he wanted to see her pussy," you are way too sheltered, and you're not really being honest with yourself. Because if you're being honest with yourself, you've done that. You've done things in your life so you could see the pussy. That's just how it is. The
sin cave.
Not to say, the sin cave. Not to say either way, you could possibly be on the other team. Maybe you've done some serious shit to see some dicks too. So I don't give a fuck what's on the video. It just matters how he treated the girl. If it was consensual or not.
Maybe that's why the social media dude was disgruntled. Maybe he wanted the dick.
It's possible.
And maybe Taryn
pushed
him
was
down.
like,
That's not for me.
Pushed him away.
So he put the video out.
It's possible. I think a lot of it has to do just with, because, sorry, Taryn, I don't want to poo-poo on your parade, but he's not really teaching anything that is new. In that genre, in that fighting pistol type of thing, he's not teaching anything that's new. There are plenty of guys out there in the world that are teaching that, and it could have just been as simple as some professional jealousy wanting to take him down a peg, because the reality is, if you are in Hollywood and you want to go shoot guns, you go to Taryn Tactical. You don't go to fucking, I mean, who else is out there? Fucking Frontside or Thunder Ranch or fucking, any of those places. Gunsite. Any of those places you're going to Taryn Tactical because that's where you learn to do cool shit. Yeah, if you want to do the fucking flippity flips and the ninja rolls and shit like that.
And shoot where Keanu Reeves shot and throw your shotgun in the tube.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. I mean, you'll see that range. It's definitely, where that is every time you see it. You want to talk about coronavirus, or you want to talk about Christian mothers against masturbation first? Let's save that one for last.
You want to say that one last? The fiery hand of masturbation?
You can't hold hands with Jesus while you're masturbating. Coronavirus.
Coronavirus. So there's a thing going around talking about the 20s. Any years that end in 20.
Every time there was a plague. 1320, 1620.
I've shared it. I've shared it because it's 2020 and there's the coronavirus floating around in China. It's not really true. Most pandemics, there's no rhyme or reason when. Well,
I'm sure that there was all those pandemics on years that ended in 20, but they forgot the other 100.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not relevant to the conversation. The interesting thing about the coronavirus,
I heard today, the coronavirus is SARS. It's not a mutated. It is SARS again.
Could be. The interesting thing would be what.
And then I heard our doctor, as a matter of fact, Dr. Barry, say that they can't test for this fucking thing. So all these cases, these 18 cases that have showed up in 18 states in the United States, there's not a test that says, yes, this is coronavirus. I heard him say it last night.
I'm sure there's a test. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, whatever. The interesting thing about China, though, and we were talking about, me and John were talking about this, is there's 5 billion people in China.
The biggest movement, human migration anywhere in the world every year, Chinese New Year, which is happening right now.
There's 5 billion people in that country, and we're talking about numbers that aren't really significant when we talk about, especially influenza. Influenza kills fucking thousands of people every year. That's why you're supposed to get your fucking flu shot, because believe it or not, the flu kills people all the fucking time.
I heard Spirko say today, he said more people are going to die today in the United States of drowning in swimming pools
Than have died
of this thing in China so far.
Now, take that with a grain of salt, because this is the thing that most people won't, I don't know, be aware of. And this is that thing where I talk about 5 billion people. China is a communist country. They could lose 1 million people. Like 1 million people tomorrow could die.
They wouldn't be opposed to just fucking fey bombing.
Yeah, 1 million people. 1 million people tomorrow could die of some strange illness. And is it almost?
What is it? 5 o'clock? Is that what you're telling us? Okay.
1 million people could die of some strange illness in China, and it wouldn't even be a bump in the road. Like
It would probably be better for China.
They wouldn't even notice it, because the percentage, when you're talking about the overall percentage of the population, I mean, unless it was 1 million people in Beijing, then they would shit themselves, because that's a lot in that particular city. But if you're talking 1 million people die, I mean, I'll bet it's close to 1 million people die every day in China. There's 5 billion people there. My math might be too crazy. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, when China is telling you, oh, there's 22 people that died of this disease, that's so insignificant, I can't believe they're even telling us. I really can't believe they're even telling us. Which makes me think that maybe it's a little worse than it is. There is a video going around of a Chinese, well, let's put this, she's definitely Asian. She's in full fucking mop suit, and she's like, hey, the fucking government's lying to you. This thing is more out of control than you think it is. I'm sure you've seen some of the pictures where they're fucking closing the barricading the whole town down so people can't get out. It's technically too late. That's the thing about any virus that has an incubation time. So the worst virus would be something that has an incubation time of a week. This has an incubation time of 1 to 2 days. So it's detectable real quick. Problem is airplanes. Airplanes. You can get anywhere in the world in 24 hours on an airplane. And the Chinese tend to get anywhere they want to go in the world on a fucking airplane. So you're quarantining a city doesn't really do anything anymore. Doesn't do anything. If coronavirus showed up in fucking in I don't know, Kansas, and they're like, hey, we got 100 cases of coronavirus in Kansas and everybody's died from it.
Too late.
It's too late. It's too late, because we have a mass transit system, and the first thing that people do in an epidemic is they flee, which means they spread it. So, I mean, I've always said you should have 90 days worth of supplies in your house, because that's usually the life cycle of a virus like that is 90 days. So you should have 90 days so you can stay.
That's the exact same thing Spirko said.
Yeah, so you can stay in place for 90 days and not have to make contact with anybody. You should also have all the necessary equipment to actually leave your house, which includes masks, pro gear. Have a change of pro gear, so if you do contact somebody,
the mask isn't enough because it'll go through your eyes.
Yeah,
if you mucous membrane, your nose, your mouth, your eyes.
When I say pro gear, I'm talking about a mop suit with a real gas mask for anything, because the issue is you never know. You don't know what the contagion is, and you don't know how the contagion is going to be transferred. Even if the government's saying, "Oh, it's you can only get it if they put it in your butt." You don't know that to be the true, because the reality is when you're talking about a contagion, something that is spreading, fucking the government really don't even know.
And it can mutate.
Yeah, they're playing catch up. Like right now, the Chinese government is playing catch up. They're doing everything they can to figure out how to stop the spread of this thing.
I saw a video this morning that said that it actually originated from a raw market where they take all this fish and all these different animals, they chop them up. At the end of the day, they just wash it all down the drain. There's no antiseptic. There's nothing there. And that it has came from that, and that they had a kind of a mass meal, a buffet, where all this stuff was boiled down and fed to over 100,000 people in this area.
For the Chinese New Year.
And where the outbreak supposedly is 7 miles from the raw market. And that's what he said that they've traced it back to fish. Now, I've heard other people say that it's the exact same thing. So, I mean, really, at the end of the day, who fucking knows?
I saw a video of a Chinese lady eating a bat.
Yeah.
And they said it was from a bat.
And I heard bat shit soup as well, I've heard.
So the reality, you know.
We just need Ozzy Osbourne's blood. He'll fix it.
Yeah. The reality is, when you're talking about China,
could be fucking anything.
Holy shit, man. It's amazing that China doesn't have pandemics every weekend, because, yes, there are great cities that you can go to that are nice, but there are still people shitting in the streets. It's still fucking the 13th century in most of China. So it's surprising that they don't have more outbreaks than they do. Please don't take away all my commercial advertisement in China because I said that.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close here. There's a group apparently called Christian Mothers Against Masturbation. Perhaps you've heard of it. There's a billboard, or what looks to be a billboard. Maybe this is satire, I don't know, but it's still amusing. Happy Wednesday. Make sure you're mindful of this one every day, young men. And it's got a picture of a nice big fat diamond ring, square cut. Before you spend your money on a diamond, make sure she has never self-raped her sin cave. It is up to you to remember to ask the hard question. And then in big bold letters, it is never okay to marry a masturbator. So I searched this and I found a couple of others. The other one that stands out off the top of my head is it's a hand that's just on fire. It's a big burning hand. It says you can't hold hands with Jesus if you're a masturbator.
I would honestly, and I know it exists, but I would really have liked to have been in the room when they were passing these, when they were shooting these ideas out with the, the church ladies all, this is a good idea. It would have been funny to see their faces and be like, you don't masturbate? Come on.
I'd like to see. I picture her as the little old lady with the axe that's busting open the barrels of whiskey.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's it.
Turn it. And he's going to give me that look.
He's like Dennis the Menace.
Yeah.
Baby head.
The more I get to know you, the more I am completely believe that you were born in a lab and you're really only 3 years old.
You know what the icing on the cake is? The total decider. Like, we could just have this one fact. Okay. The fact that you have not seen Zoolander.
No, he hasn't even seen any of the Star Wars movies, for goodness sakes. And they're old.
I'm okay with the Star Wars movies. It's the Zoolander one that really has it twisted.
Okay.
There's not a day that goes. How long have I known you now? You've been around for a year and 2 months.
I don't know.
There's not a day that you've been here that we haven't said something from Zoolander.
Okay.
Because you were born in a lab.
What makes me 3 though?
That's the reason. You're only like 3 because you have no cultural reference. Every cultural reference you have is to something that is less than 3 years old. You're like, whoo, K-pop.
Exactly.
It's not even our culture.
You have no
it's not even
cultural
our, it's
references.
not even our
Maybe
culture.
I'm not from here.
Pause it.
Pause it.